As you guys know, I've been covering the Mizkif defamation lawsuit he filed against his ex-girlfriend, Emiru. We recently covered his amended complaint, and I had some things to say about most of them kind of being baseless. But that's just my opinion. You can actually scroll through and read it for yourself to figure out what you find is baseless and what you find is credible. However, I did say that he had a case when she said she was S8. But according to her most recent legal filing that was filed March 3rd, 2026, which is yesterday at this time of this recording, she sees it differently, or her lawyers see it differently. So without further ado, let's get into it. And one thing I want to bring to your attention before we get into it, Emiru's statements contained her protected emotional truth. This is going to be a big section for a lot of people, but we have to get there, okay? Also, she do not want this ninja to make any more amended complaints, but she leaves room for just in case he does. So without further ado, let's get into it. She's citing all these legal cases to support her claims, statutes, and other authorities. Let's get into it. Defendant Emiru hereby moves to dismiss the first amended complaint filed by Mizkif and Mizkif Enterprises, and together with Ms. Rendino, pursuant to Federal Rule Civil Procedure 12B, failure to state a claim, similar to the same thing Asmongold. An alternative, Emiru moves for a more definitive statement pursuant to the rule of Civil Procedure 12E. All right, so she wants it out. For clarity, Emiru strenuously denies the claims alleged in the first amended complaint, as is confident that she will defeat Mizkif's claims on its merits. However, for the purposes of this motion, Emiru merely moves for a dismissal of the first amended complaint, or an alternative, a more definitive statement on the grounds of its legal inadequacy. She looks forward to proving the lack of factual merit in the first amended complaint, if necessary, should the case progress past the pleading stage. Now, do I think it's going to get dismissed? Oof, it's going to be tough, man. Introduction and factual background. The first amended complaint is a temper tantrum discussed as legal filing. God damn. She already called him just filing it. He has a temper tantrum. Mizkif's original complaint contained only a single 2-sentence quote describing the supposedly defamatory statements by Emiru and Asmongold. Asmongold rightfully filed a motion to dismiss the deficient complaint, and Mizkif quickly admitted defeat and withdrew the complaint. Now, this is, kind of semantics. His original complaint wasn't withdrew, it was amended. So it no longer is what the response is. So you could say it was withdrew, but this typically happens. The first amended complaint contains more words than the original complaint, but no more substance. Man, her lawyer is just cooking out the gate. Mizkif is a content creator, meaning that his primary occupation is the creation of a live stream or streaming content posted on various online platforms, including but not limited to Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. As alleged in the first amended complaint, Mizkif earns income by gaining subscribers who pay monthly to support his live stream content and through advertising within the next to his live streams. In other words, the more eyeballs on his streams, the more money Mizkif makes. I mean, that's just a truthful statement. And that goes for anybody. But in this attention economy of content creators, Mizkif is seen as a middling creator. Oh God, a middling creator. He a middling. He ain't even at the top of the list no more. He is not as popular as Emiru, nor is he particularly well liked in the community of content creators.
That's a truthful statement.
His brand has been volatile for many years due to self-inflicted public controversies in which he puts himself against other content creators. And right now, that's exactly what he's doing. He's literally going at any and everybody on YouTube or Twitch or any platform to kind of stay relevant. Emiru, in comparison, is at the top of her field. Emiru is best known for live streaming videos on Twitch, where she plays video games and posts cosplay content and speaks directly to her viewers. She is one of the most popular female streamers on Twitch with millions of followers across multiple platforms. She was recently profiled in Forbes for their 30 under 30 list as the head of their games category, which described her as the most watched female streamer on Twitch with an expanding media empire. Yeah, she cooking. She cooking. You can't deny that. Unfortunately for Emiru, she entered into a romantic relationship with Mizkif in 2022. The relationship was disastrous, and in January 2025, Emiru ended the relationship and ceased all communication with Mizkif. God damn, cut him off. Cut him off. So remember, ended in January. Now, fast forward. In early October 2025, Emiru was assaulted by a member of the public at TwitchCon, an annual conference held by Twitch. The assault was captured on video by a fan and caused a global media firestorm, particularly due to the questions pertaining to Twitch handling of the situation. That's a truthful statement. Separately, Emiru had been receiving concerning information from multiple sources. Now, here's the thing, right? I'm not sure this has anything to do with Mizkif other than garner sympathy. And I'm not defending Miz, but what does this have to do with what she said? Okay, so right then there, separately, Emiru had been receiving concerning information from multiple sources regarding Mizkif's inappropriate and highly concerning behavior. Mizkif was reportedly harassing her through private messages, making inappropriate comments to friends and employees, attempting to interact with her at parties despite her attempts to avoid him, and discussing her in his live streams and videos because of her decision to cut off their romantic relationship. His behavior was escalating, and Emiru decided that she was morally compelled to speak to the public about Mizkif's treatment of her and others. We go, D-Day. On October 25th, 2025, Emiru hosted a live stream on Twitch and later posted in her YouTube account. A true and correct copy of Emiru's entire live stream is attached to the declaration of Emiru's declaration, Exhibit 1. Now, here's the thing, guys. It's important for her to get the entire live stream in there so the judge can have context. And you're going to hear this word gist. You have to have the gist of the statement. And it's basically to determine if defamation occurred. For the court's convenience, a transcript of the live stream is also attached to Emiru's declaration at Exhibit 2. This is the live stream that forms the basis of the first amended complaint, which is true. He literally looked at her statement and said, this is defamation. He looked at Asmongold's reaction to his stream and said, this is defamation. So you really only got to consider 3 videos: Emiru's original statement, Mizkif's original response, and Asmongold reacting to Mizkif. Those are the only 3 videos that the court, I guess, has been submitted to the court to look at. Nothing else. So if you have other information where Mizkif said this or Emiru said that or Asmongold said that, it's not going to be considered because, one, no one has tried to get anything outside of that into evidence, if you will, even though this is not like the discovery phase. It's just like, hey, this is what we want you guys to consider. So we have that. In Emiru's live stream, she provides a brief update on the status of the recent incident at TwitchCon and then delves into the history between herself and Mizkif. She refers to him as Mizkif, his online persona. She describes their fractured romantic relationship and details the repeated instances of physical and emotional abuse she suffered at his hands. She was emotional, often to the point of tears, and obviously deeply affected by their relationship, by the harm he has caused her for years. Now, shortly thereafter, Mizkif responded with a stream of his own. For more than 30 minutes, Mizkif complained about Emiru, criticized her, insulted her, and encouraged his followers to do the same. He was rude, offensive, and cruel to his former partner. A true and correct copy of Mizkif's entire live stream is attached to Emiru's declaration. For the court's convenience, a transcript of the live stream is attached to Emiru's declaration, Exhibit 5. So here's the thing, right? This is actually, I said, was a good strategy because Mizkif does not want his original live stream to be put in or considered. He only wants the statements that he made or that he considers defamatory to be considered. So you have this little back and forth. So now you have Emiru saying, hey, put in his live stream. You have Asmongold saying, put in his live stream. And Asmongold saying, put in my whole live stream. So, and she's going to like piggyback on that. So what's happening is it's literally a 2v1. And Emiru has the upper hand because she's responding last. So she can see where Asmongold may have fell short in his responses, had more time to formulate a strategy. And she is literally about to attack a lot of Mizkif's amended complaint with a small contingency plan if it does not get dismissed. Okay. On a motion to dismiss, the court may consider the complaint, any documents attached to the complaint, and any documents attached to the motion to dismiss that are central to the claim and referenced by the complaint, which it is. So, and she has, this case law to this court case to support why it should be included. And typically when you have a court case to support your rationale, it's hard for the judge to be like, oh no, this doesn't apply, because you got legal precedence is what they call it. And remember, guys, I'm not a lawyer. Yet shockingly, amongst the insults and crude comments, Mizkif made a few surprising admissions. Below is a collection of exact quotes from Mizkif's live stream. Unlike the first amended complaint, Emiru presents full quotes without heavy editing and interpretation. In other words, he was leaving stuff out. Now, if you want to read this, please pause it, read it, have at it. But for the purposes of getting through it, we're just going to kind of stick to some of the highlights. That's the meat and potatoes. So, okay. Remember this whole, him throwing the phone at the bed. He would say he would throw the phone at the bed right before a shower. And guess what? He said, she did tell me she got a bruise from it and I stopped. Remember when she said, hey, I got a black eye? A black eye is a bruise, but that's a clever way, if you will, of downplaying a black eye. It's different from say a bruise versus black eye. Black eye like, bruise is like, oh, she's got a bruise. She bruises easily. What do you want me to do? Anyway. Now, another thing. This is his statement. In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships. And yes, I didn't want her to travel without me. I also said that I didn't want her to hang out with specific people. And at the end of the day, if someone says you're controlling, that's not a statement of fact. That's an opinion. So I don't see how anyone could say, well, she said I was controlling, that's defamation. What? And then on top of that, he literally says out of his words, I know I was controlling. Seems to be in agreement. And I should have just ended the effing relationship, but I was confused as a person, and I'm sorry I didn't. I'm sorry things got to this point. The last 9 months of this, we're going to go back to that. Okay. Now there's some stuff. There's like, these right here, right? These little statements right here at the bottom. Footnotes. Emiru's live stream repeatedly quoted in the first amended complaint all through, although never attached in full. So in other words, yeah, he quoted her live stream, but he didn't provide it to the court. Why is that? You tell me. It goes on to say, in paragraphs 23 to 33, the first amended complaint alleges Asmongold engaged in defamation by commenting on Mizkif's live stream, the very same live stream attached in Exhibit 4 to the Emiru's declaration. As explained in detail, Asmongold's reply, in short, of his motion to dismiss the first amended complaint. Asmongold's live stream is a picture-in-picture commentary of Mizkif's live stream. Asmongold reacting to Mizkif's live stream in real time. All right. Mizkif's live stream is a critical factual puzzle piece the court must consider when evaluating the weakness in the first amended complaint. Now, this is more pressure for the judge to consider all three videos and not just what the quotes that Mizkif, for lack of a better word, cherry picked from both of their live streams to file a defamation lawsuit. And in all honesty, like, just his legal team, if you filed that defamation lawsuit and then you have to amend it almost immediately, what are they doing? Like, are they hosing him, or are they saying this is standard? So I am in support of all three live streams being considered. I think that's fair to all parties, not just Emiru or Asmongold. So here we go. I know I was controlling. The last 9 months of this relationship thing has gotten extremely effing toxic. More statements from Mizkif. And she's basically trying to say everything I'm accused of defaming him, he confirmed. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls and slammed doors in aggression. So if she accused him of punching holes in the wall, and he said that's defamation, and then you go on stream and say, hey, I punched holes in the walls and slammed doors in aggression, how is that defamation? That's all she's trying to do. I one time did say I was going to delete myself during an argument. Okay. We cuddled for about 30 minutes and started to kiss. She said that she was okay with this on her stream, and I started to advance to the next stage because I thought that's what she wanted. She yelped, and I immediately sprung up and was scared if I did anything wrong or did wrong in general. I got scared and left the house. I apologize if I made Emmy uncomfortable for me not saying sorry, and I wish I said sorry back then, but we got back together soon afterwards. More quotes from Mizkif. I'm a horrible boyfriend. I have lots of messages that I have that I'm going to expose as time goes on, because I do believe that this is a time to go effing buck wild. And imagine trying to tell a judge you just clip farming. Imagine you say, oh, I was just clip farming. I mean nothing by that. Well, if you were just clip farming, then they were just clip farming too, right? It has to go both ways. I don't think that's going to be his defense, but this is not paint him in the best of lights. If Emmy were to say anything about me, I would say something back. This was his motto. Okay. If she ever said anything, I would say something as well. So it's going to be this back and forth. This is, straight from Mizkif's mouth. As with much of Mizkif's statements, this is an entirely fabricated description of the events that occurred between Emiru and Mizkif. Emiru is deeply offended and saddened by his vindictive and callous statements regarding one of the worst events in Emiru's life. As we continue, can I clarify what, if anything, I said to her team at TwitchCon? ? I said that if she goes after me, then I will go nuclear. And that is exactly what I said. And that is what's going to happen, because you can't mess with me anymore. I don't have anything to lose. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. Go after me all you want. I have nothing to lose. I mean, man, he's going out. He's going out with a bang. And I don't like that she was portraying that it was just me who was at fault. It was a toxic relationship. And that's what it was. Emiru's declaration. As we continue, right? So these are some statements to kind of like, paint a picture for the judge of the relationship and maybe what he confirmed during his live stream. After Emiru and Mizkif's live stream, Asmongold posted a series of live streams of his own and discussed in greater detail in Asmongold's amended motion. Mizkif's claim as to Asmongold are similarly weak. So like, this is like tag team and like, oh yeah, we're going to defend Asmongold too. Her legal team is doing that. In addition to OTK Media Inc., Mythic Talent Management, and King Gaming Labs Inc. ousted Mizkif as a result of his actions towards Emiru and others. Emphasis on that. This may come back in because remember, he is suing Emiru, Asmongold, Mythic, OTK, and King Gaming Labs. So you have all these different defendants. Yet, just days after admitting to the world that he was abusive, controlling, and toxic, Mizkif filed a claim against Emiru, among other claims. Mizkif now claims that the behavior he admitted to and even embraced in his October 26, 2025 live stream is actually false, and Emiru was defaming him by speaking her truth. Emphasis on her truth. Emphasis on her truth. Mizkif is attempting the very smear campaign he promised in his live stream. He has nothing to lose, and like so many men before him, is attempting to use the court system to intimidate Emiru into silence. I gotta see if she's trying to appeal to a female judge. When you say like so many men before, instead of like so many people before, this is making it a men versus a woman thing into silence. And that has happened before. Powerful men silence, their alleged victims sometimes. This is his nuclear option. He has been constantly harassing Emiru online since filing the lawsuit while mobilizing his fan base to attack her online.
That's a truthful statement.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm suing my ex-wife right now, but I never talk about her in a negative way online or anytime. And what he is doing easily can be seen as harassment. Now, if she's going to act on that, probably not. But it does not bode well for his case where he has videos where she's like, she ruined my life, she lied. She literally comes up in every live stream. But you have this thing called freedom of speech. But I'm sure his legal team was like, can you stop talking about her? And he was like,
nope.
No, she ruined my life. I just want to talk about the case. He has openly stated his goal is to influence the court of public opinion, which he recently did, and not the court of law. This case is a sham intended to silence the woman bringing his misconduct to light. Her lawyers is cooking. Not gonna lie. They cooking him. But he a soft target. For the reasons set forth below, the court must dismiss the First Amendment complaint and end this charade. The First Amendment complaint simply does not state a valid claim of defamation against Emiru. It intentionally and strategically quotes individual words or phrases from Emiru's live stream in order to distort her statements, depriving the court of the full context of her words, as is required by the claim of defamation. Let's read the footnote. Anything in green is usually fire. All right. Yeah. He has also stated that he was not feeling good and taking every type of drug possible to fix his brain. See Asmongold's amended motion to dismiss. He discusses his use of steroids and illegal drugs and stated that the steroids gave him insane anger issues. Yeah, I mean, like Mizkif is Mizkif's own enemy. Further, the live stream plainly represents Emiru's emotional truth. Remember, I said emotional truth, which is protected and not subject to a claim of defamation. I know this is going to piss a lot of people off because I was reading it like, what? Emotional truth? What? Alternatively, the court should require plaintiffs to specifically identify and articulate the exact sentences by Emiru that are supposedly defamatory without creatively quoting and interpreting her words, and identify how and who was harmed by these statements. Now, like I said, we don't have to read everything. Parts in green, parts in yellow are important. But if you want to pause the video to read every word, by all means, go ahead. It's 72 pages, but our response is really only like 23. The bulk of the pages are transcripts. So the amended complaint must be dismissed. Why? Failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Like, hey, where is the defamatory statement that will qualify Mizkif for relief? She's saying it's not there. That's all it says, and most of this is just case law to support it. Now, we all know this. To prevail on the claim of defamation, the plaintiff, Mizkif in this case, must prove the publication of a false statement of fact to a third party. Emiru is not denying she said the things that Mizkif said. So he has that. The defamatory concerning the plaintiff, the statements were about Mizkif, so he has two. 3, within the requisite degree of fault and damages in some cases. She did say it, but was it false? Was it a statement of fact? Those are things you have to consider. Was Mizkif damaged? Can he show losses? Was there malice? Did she openly make a statement that she knew was false and made it anyway? If a statement is not verifiable as false, it is not defamatory. Now, Mizkif's intentional omits and misrepresents context of Emiru's statements. This is a reason why I should be dismissed. And we don't have to read all of this because it's only a couple parts. In order to prevail on his claim of defamation, Mizkif must state direct allegations, articulating the exact nature of the statements at issue, how they were false, and why they are capable of defamatory meaning. However, the First Amendment complaint is a little more than labels and conclusions. Paragraphs 8 through 20 of the First Amendment complaint identify a handful of statements by Emiru during the October 25th, 2025 live stream that were purportedly defamatory towards Mizkif. However, Mizkif intentionally omits to inform the court the fact that Emiru's live stream was nearly 90 minutes long. Why would he? Why would he be like, hey, yeah, this is a 90-minute live stream and we doing what we do? You got that. Mizkif selectively quoted single words and fragments out of a 90-minute live stream in order to dramatize and manipulate the actual context of the live stream. Now, you can actually go look at it and, like, let's just take this one, for example, because this one's going to come up. That at a party, she felt Mizkif was following her and monitoring her and watching her, and then later made eye contact with her and said, ooh, is this defamatory? Like, this defamatory? Ask yourself that. All right, keep going. Now, even a false statement is not defamatory if the context of those statements discloses that they reflect an opinion. So if you think Mizkif was following you, and that is your opinion, and Mizkif is like, well, I wasn't following you, I was just coincidentally at the same party, then that's not necessarily defamatory, and she has a legal case to support that. As we continue, the First Amendment complaint must be dismissed because Mizkif completely fails to provide the context of Emiru's statements, which he didn't provide much context. Just even if you were the biggest Mizkif supporter, think about that. Of the litany of supposedly defamatory statements, Mizkif includes only a single full sentence quote at paragraph 19. The remaining statements alleged in the First Amendment complaint are chopped and edited to the point where the quotes have no meaning. For example, Mizkif claims at paragraph 20 that Mizkif was screaming at her due to her cat. That bizarre statement is a complete quote from the First Amendment complaint. That is the entire subparagraph, word for word. Oh my God. I think we could find it, right? The cat thing right here. That Renata was screaming at her due to her cat. You see it? You like, wait, what? Yeah, he said that's defamatory. Hello? This strange claim is made with no context and no explanation. The court is left to guess what due to the cat means, what Emiru supposedly said, or why screaming at someone due to her cat is supposed to be a false statement capable of defamatory meaning as is required for a defamation claim. Determining whether a statement is defamatory is a question of whether a reasonable person or ordinary intelligence would perceive it. Yet, Mizkif provides no information by which such a reasonable person could interpret such a vague and confusing claim. Similarly, Mizkif claims that it was defamatory when Emiru said at a party she felt Mizkif was following her, monitoring her, watching her, and then later make eye contact with her and said, ooh. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Said, ooh. Okay. Again, Mizkif strings together specific words picked out of Emiru's live stream to make an implication that Emiru said something defamatory, yet does not provide the full quote. Regardless, Mizkif's claims in this subparagraph simply make no sense, which I would agree with. I'm like, said, ooh, whatever. Even if Emiru's statement was false, which it was not, and admitted by Mizkif himself, how is a statement that someone followed her around the room, made eye contact, and then said, ooh, a statement capable of defamatory meaning? What damage could that statement possibly cause to Mizkif? No reasonable person of ordinary intelligence would ever believe that statement to be capable of defamatory meaning. Bro, if I'm the judge, I'm throwing this out. Well, yeah, dog. Like what the judge will have to do is literally go through all of these claims and pick which one is a fact and go if they're gonna throw it out. So you have all of these, which is Mizkif is just throwing stuff at the wall. I mean, the one I said that she had the biggest case was the SA claim, but her lawyer makes quick work of that when we get to it. At paragraph 20, Mizkif complains that Emiru stated that she was receiving harassment and hatred from him and his community, while he the whole time secretly begging for me to take him back behind the scenes. Yet Mizkif never articulates why Emiru's statements were false or why they defamed him. Embarrassment for being exposed does not meet the legal elements of a defamation claim. So more and more, you're starting to see, like, you know, when you look at this lawsuit, Mizkif's claims look a little funny in the light. In other instances, Mizkif intentionally omits critical portions of Emiru's statements that demonstrate her truth. For example, Mizkif claims that Emiru stated that Mizkif's plan was to claim that I, Emiru, kill animals and that I killed my own rabbits. That was in his first amendment complaint. Yet the full quote reveals that Emiru was repeating statements made by others. Multiple people have told me that his plan was to claim that I killed animals and that I killed my own rabbits since I had several rabbits pass away over the course of 3 years while I lived with him. All right. Like, what? Now, here we go. Some context. Footnotes usually just provide more context. Mizkif, in his own words, said, I did see her at a party at Simply's house. The house was very small, and I opened the door. I said, whoops. Bro. Did he file defamation because he said she said, ooh? Bro. And he like, I did not say, ooh, Your Honor. Well, what did you say, Mizkif? I said, oops, or whoops. Where is it at? Where is it at, man? Here's the one about the rabbits. I gotta find the one where he was like, ooh, I said, ooh. Like, what? What? Bro, it's right here. He said, no, I didn't say ooh. I said whoops. I said whoops. Like, bro, whoops. Yeah, she said I said ooh, Your Honor. I didn't say ooh. That's defamatory. Just like, what, bro? You're cooked. Mizkif does not include any explanation or history underlying his statement, evidencing why Emiru was forced to bring this Rule 12 motion. For the court's clarity, Emiru is an animal lover and has several beloved pet rabbits over the years. Sadly, some of those rabbits have died over the years, as common with household pets. Mizkif seems to have made his mission to basically criticize Emiru's treatment of her rabbits. He mentions it repeatedly in his video, specifically admits his scheme to use false claims about her rabbits to punish her for speaking out about him. Yeah. Okay. So, Mizkif right here conveniently ignores and misrepresents the full quote in order to pretend that this was something Emiru created, when in reality, she clearly stated that it was something that was told to her by others. Bro. I'm just saying, like, you can read the lawsuit for yourself. I know people be like, yo, Henry's lying. I'm like, dog, the lawsuit speaks for itself. Henry's biased. I don't care. Maybe I am biased. But at the same time, you're literally looking at the court docs. You're literally, you can see them. You can read it. You can watch the stream on mute and be like, yo, well, I'm going to just watch it on mute. Just just read for myself. Simply at paragraph 20, Mizkif claims that Emiru defamed him by stating his alleged behavior acts toward her or something similar were allegedly done to someone else. As in, she wasn't the first person who experienced the Mizkif treatment. Setting aside the fact that the sentence is nonsensical and confusing, it also entirely misstates Emiru's actual words. She actually stated, I was informed by 3 separate people, one of whom was present for said incident, that he had done something similar to something that he had done to me and someone in LA at the end of September. um, Once again, Mizkif misrepresents the quote to omit the fact that Emiru explicitly stated that she was repeating information provided to her by others, rather than asserting it herself as a fact. Mizkif uses this information over and over again, obliquely referring to Mizkif's behavior without identifying Emiru's actual statements or descriptions of bad behavior. Ronaldo was testing your boundaries in that his alleged behavior got worse over time, or complaining multiple times about the same statements with vague allusions, reiterating some of the allegations. Can you continue? Mizkif simply does not and cannot back up his claims, examining Emiru's entire statement. For 90 minutes, Emiru bared her soul in a deeply emotional and vulnerable live stream, laying out her story. By removing the context, the gist right here of Emiru's statements, the court is not afforded the opportunity to hear Emiru's own words, the emotional truth she conveyed. Someone said dummies will double down and defend something or someone they like, even if that thing or person objectively is in the wrong. True, man. I mean, I'm sure people still got. Emiru gonna have. Mizkif is gonna have people like, well, when she said "ooh" and "whoops," that is defamation. I was just like, wait, what? Well, he didn't say that, so she lied. I was just like, is that defamation? Yeah, he said "whoops." She said "ooh." It's her word versus his. So by law, it's defamation. Bro, you cooked. Mizkif also intentionally omits the portion of Emiru's live stream that validate her statements, presumably because he knows that they undermine his entire case. For example, of the First Amendment complaint, Mizkif claims that Emiru defended him by stating that Mizkif made comments in connection with a 2024 incident in which Mizkif became extremely angry and aggressive because Emiru's stream was more popular than his, which is true. Yet the amended complaint neglects to mention that Emiru displays screenshots. Oh, these screenshots are in there, guys. Messages with Mizkif in which Mizkif repeatedly berates and belittle her because of his jealousy over popularity. All those screenshots that she posted are 100% in here. And we'll get them to, we don't have to read them, I'll just show them though. Once again, Mizkif strategically cherry picks words from Emiru's live stream, inserts his own implications and analysis of her words, then neglects to even mention that Emiru proved her statements right there in the same live stream. Emiru's 90-minute live stream was longer than some movies released in theaters, yet Mizkif's attempts to narrow it down to a handful of words. Nah, not the rest of it. Yeah, it's in here, dog. Everything is in here. Mizkif also neglects to inform the court that many of Emiru's statements were validated as true just a few hours later in Mizkif's own live stream. He was so quick to react. For example, Mizkif's claim that Emiru stated that a slam door broke, that he would destroy furniture, throw things, destroy walls, banging on the door and screaming at her. That he would scream at her while she was asleep, bro. Screaming while she was asleep is wild. And that he was physically aggressive. Yet, Mizkif actually admitted this fact in his live stream. Fights were getting more aggressive and shouting began to increase. I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression. He also repeatedly describes their relationship as toxic and says he was a horrible boyfriend. It is abundantly clear Mizkif's own statements that Emiru's portrayal of him was entirely accurate. What do you guys think, man? The judge is going to have a field day with this. I promise you. I didn't cough. I cleared my throat. Emotional truth over evidence. Yeah, dog. It's gonna break y'all hearts. And thank you, Laura, for the $2 super chat. Didn't get the notification. Hugs. Hugs to you, Laura. Hope you're having a great night. As another example, Mizkif alleges that Emiru stated Mizkif indirectly threatened her and approached other people about a smear campaign against her to join with him in assistance. Similarly, Mizkif alleged that Emiru stated that Mizkif threatened one of her other employees and told him he would destroy her if she spoke about him. Again, Mizkif admitted to this in his stream, stating that he was going to expose her and go effing buck wild. Here's his exact words. I said that if she goes after me, then I'll go nuclear. And that is what's going to happen because you can't mess with me anymore. I don't have anything to lose. I'm sorry. I don't. Go after me all you want. I have nothing to lose. Oh, man. Similarly, the first alleged complaint alleges that Emiru's statements regarding Mizkif's controlling and toxic behavior were defamatory. Bro, how many people in this audience thinks Mizkif have a chance? Like, do you think he's going to win this lawsuit? Do you think like he's going to get justice? Do you think it's not going to get dismissed? Okay. She stated he was controlling over her clothes and friends when she streamed. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what? He admitted in his own words to telling her how to dress, who to speak to, what to speak about, and who to contact. He says, I know I was controlling and I should have just ended the effing relationship, but I was so confused as a person. The last 9 months of this relationship, things got extremely effing toxic. Mizkif also admits in his live stream that Emiru's statements regarding his driving habits were true. She said that he would drive like 150 miles an hour, and one time said, now we're both going to not be alive anymore, threatening to delete us both. What does he say on live stream? I drive fast literally everywhere. I drive fast all the time. I don't remember the exact speed I got up to, but we were definitely flying. Now, he doesn't say anything about deleting everybody themselves, but he definitely confirmed driving fast. So is it more likely than not that while he was driving fast, he stated that he was going to, end it, ring the bell on them both? In order to prevail on a claim of defamation, Mizkif must plausibly plead that Emiru's statements were false, yet he admitted that they were true just a few hours later. The First Amendment complaint must be dismissed because Mizkif fails to provide the entire context of Emiru's statements or omit his own damning statements, which would defeat his claims entirely. Now, this is the part that's going to break most men's heart who believe they were falsely accused of SA. Okay? Because of this emotional truth. And someone brought it up earlier that emotional truth is taking over evidence. All right. So let's go. Texas law has long held that even a verifiable false statement is not defamation if the context of that statement reveals that the statement was merely a reflection of an opinion, not a statement of fact. See this lawsuit right here. Now, we got another one. The Court of Appeals First District recently took up this exact issue in a case strikingly similar to one at the bar. In Benson v. Guerrero, a daughter made a TikTok video in which she accused her stepfather of SA and accused her mother, a famous wrestler, of knowing about the assault and refusing to do anything to protect her. Right there. The mother of the stepfather filed a lawsuit alleging that the daughter's claims constituted defamation because she accused the stepfather of a crime of SA and that the mother of the crime of tampering with a witness. There, the daughter was able to take advantage of Texas Citizens Participation Act, expedited procedures to move to dismiss defamation claims filed by her mother and stepfather. Now, here is what you guys have to understand. Here, Mizkif filed the case in federal court in order to avoid the TCPA because the TCPA would give Emiru and other defendants the opportunity to actually address his false claims and merits and end this case quickly. This is semantics. The reason why this is filed in federal court is because above over 75,000, it has to go federal. Now, could it be that he was truly trying to avoid the TCPA? Sure. That could be the case. But any claim above $75,000 is going to be heard in federal court, not your state. I mean, not your civil, your county court. It's going to be federal. In Benson, the mother claimed that the daughter made several false and defamatory statements that seemed factually verifiable on their face, the allegation of SA against the stepfather, including that the mother knew her daughter had been SA by her stepfather but did not care. 2, characterized the SA as a mistake. And 3, told her daughter that the assault was not the mother's problem. 4, failed to protect the daughter from SA. 5, abandoned her daughter in support of the stepfather who she knew had SA'd her daughter. So these are some very heavy statements right there to make. As we can go on, the court analyzed the entire context of the video, noting that the daughter expressed her unhappiness with the estrangement between her and her mother. The court held that entire context showed that the daughter's statements were not actionable because she was sharing her personal viewpoint, i.e., an example, her own emotional truth, not purported fact. Man, this is wild. This is a real court case. And guess what? What is Emiru arguing? Hey, I know I said some stuff that could be verifiable on his face, whether he SA'd me or not, whether he stalked me or not. But that was my emotional truth. Tell me otherwise. But the only problem is the TCPA don't apply. This is federal court. So it's going to be up to the judge to figure out what that is. Now, look, we don't need to go through all of these statements or whatever that was in the TikTok video, but you kind of get the gist of it. If you want to pause it, have at it. Here, with the context of the entire 90-minute live stream, it's clear that Emiru was telling her own emotional truth, explaining how their relationship came to an end and struggles Emiru endured during their relationship. The live stream was spontaneous, unedited, and unscripted, underscoring that Emiru was not delivering a rehearsed narrative, but instead was speaking openly and vulnerably in the moment. Her truth as she experienced it, like the daughter in the Benson case, Emiru's allegedly defamatory statements were either non-actionable statements of opinion or merely opinions or masquerading as facts. So what does this say? In Emiru's opinion, she was SA. In Emiru's opinion, she was stalked. In Emiru's opinion, she was abused by Mizkif. That's her opinion based on her emotional truth. So what do you do with that? What do you do with that? This is some news to me, man. That's false. She said on stream she spoke to a lawyer and was reading from notes. I know she was reading from notes, but was she reading just bullet points? Was she reading a script? You know? I mean, y'all gonna have to figure that out. Or the judge is gonna have to figure that out. But that's a smooth little defense right there. For example, she discussed at length the pain she felt that her partner, whom she cared for deeply, whose approval she craved, repeatedly punished for her success. So basically, I felt like I was kind of stuck in a loop where I felt like I had to constantly perform and like prove my value and not be thrown away. But at the same time, if I ever performed too well, I was going to be punished for it. And it just felt like a very rough situation to be stuck in because I mean, streaming is my hobby and my job, like it's a huge part of my life. Even before, I met him and became like a larger creator. And I remember thinking all the time how it felt like he hated me, but he still wanted me around for his channel and like his thumbnails and everything, bro. He was using her for content. Dog, it's an evil world out here, man. You think he love you? Nah, you good for clicks and views. Yep, it happens. These statements are nearly identical to the daughter statements in the Benson case. Emiru expressing her heartfelt emotional journey over several years with an admittedly toxic man. There go that man thing again. Her story is admirable, and in telling it, she is stating her emotional truth, not some statement of decisive fact. Oh, gosh. Oof. So is she walking back the SA claims? She's like, oh no, that's my emotional truth. That's not a statement of facts. It's my emotional truth. Bro, the damage is done, dog. Emotional truth, statement of fact. It's game over on Mizkif. Interestingly, that Benson case also directly dealt with the question of whether accusing someone of SA constitutes defamation. There, the daughter used the term SA without explaining exactly what occurred between her and the stepfather. Unlike the First Amendment complaint, there, the court had to benefit of the daughter's entire statement to review. She harping on that. The court held because the Texas Penal Code defines criminal offenses as SA, and Guerrero published a statement that Chris had SA'd her without further explanation. The words Guerrero used were reasonably capable of a defamatory meaning. An example that Chris had committed a criminal offense of SA against her. For purposes of the TCPA, this was sufficient for the father's claim to survive the initial challenge by the daughter. But as we continue, Mizkif will certainly focus on Emiru's use of the term SA, which she should. I mean, I would do the same, and argue that Emiru's statements are necessarily defamatory because they include the same term. However, in comparison to Benson here, Emiru described in detail the exact nature of Mizkif's assault against her. Bizarrely, this is the one sentence that Mizkif actually quotes in the First Amendment complaint. He started kissing me in the face. I let him do it. And then he suddenly tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hands down my pants. I screamed. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat. Okay? Taking the whole context of Emiru's statement into account, as the court is required to do, the situation is very different than the stepfather in Benson. Emiru describes exactly what happened to her, and although she defines it as a reasonable viewer would unquestionably understand that the term is her own description of what happened to her. I don't know about this. This is a reach. If someone comes out and say I was SA, and then like later down the line say he kissed me and finger popped me, and then I yelped and he got off me, I don't know. Maybe. It's still the term SA. The viewer is not left to guess as to the nature of the assault based solely on the term SA, like in Benson's case, which focused on the fact that the daughter did not actually describe the alleged assault. Okay, it might not fly. The judge will determine it. Just like in Benson, Emiru's statements are not actionable as defamation because they show her personal viewpoint, her own emotional truth, and not purported fact. The court should dismiss the First Amendment complaint as to Mizkif. Man, that emotional truth thing is a bish. But at the same time, this is federal court. Federal court. TCPA don't apply. So you have that element. Emiru's claim was emotional, might not fly because she prefaced the whole thing by describing it as an essay that really couldn't be described as anything as a statement of fact. We're going to find out. The amended complaint must be dismissed as to Mizkif Enterprises because the first amended complaint contains absolutely no allegations or statements by Emiru regarding to the enterprises. I agree with this. Get Mizkif Enterprises off the defamation thing. Count 2 of the amended complaint, which is scantily and sloppily pled, contains absolute no allegations pertaining to the defamation by Emiru of Mizkif Enterprises. I agree with that. Let's keep going. The only reference to the court into which include Mizkif Enterprises are the plaintiffs collectively. Plaintiffs incorporate the prior factual allegations in count 2. A boilerplate paragraph seemingly copy and pasted from another document. Bro. Oh man. I mean, she didn't say anything about Mizkif Enterprises at all. So let's just get Mizkif Enterprises out of here. Like, no one really cares about Mizkif Enterprises, probably other than Mizkif's company being quote unquote harmed. Plaintiffs should not be given leave to amend their deficient First Amendment complaint. Plaintiffs will surely argue that they should be given opportunity to cure the many defects identified by Emiru herein. Yet plaintiffs already had 2 bites of the apple, an original complaint and a First Amendment complaint, and still have not articulated a valid claim. A court may properly deny leave to the amend in situations involving repeated failure to cure deficiencies by amendments previously allowed. That court case, plaintiff, as in Mizkif, should not be given a third attempt to make the same mistakes. I'm inclined to agree, but in all fairness, let him amend his complaint. Let him address the further deficiencies. That way, it can survive if he appeals like, well, I didn't get a chance to amend my amended complaint to address everything Emiru said. You know, he probably wants to have the final word, which is not going to happen because everyone has money, so they can just keep filing replies until the judge say no more, no more replies. Third time's the charm, maybe. In the alternative, Mizkif should be compelled to specifically identify the falsity and harm of each allegedly defamatory statement. So this is like a contingency. Let's say, hey, it survives the motion to dismiss and he gets to make another complaint. Well, how was he harmed? In each event that the court is not inclined to dismiss the First Amendment complaint outright, Emiru moves the court for an order compelling plaintiffs to make more definitive statement. Rule 12e motions are appropriate when the complaint is sufficiently intelligible for the court to be able to make out one or more potentially viable legal theories on which the claimant might proceed. In such cases, more definite statement of pleading is required when pleading is so vague, ambiguous that the party cannot reasonably prepare a response. And she's about to cook him. Anytime you see green, she cooking. First, Mizkif failed to present an entirety of Emiru's allegedly defamatory statement to the court as set forth in Section 2. The court must take into the entire context of Emiru's statement into account. The court should compel Mizkif to include the entirety of Emiru's live stream and identify accurate quotes from the live stream which are supposedly defamatory without any commentary or supposed explanation included in the First Amendment complaint. The court should have the benefit of reading Emiru's actual words when making the defamation as to a determination as to their nature, which is why she provided the court transcripts. Second, Mizkif should be compelled to specifically identify each actual quoted statement by Emiru is untrue, harms either both plaintiffs, which is both plaintiffs is him and his company. It's impossible for Emiru to determine what allegations Mizkif admits versus denies how the statements are supposedly defamatory or what harm Mizkif personally versus his company. If this case is not simply dismissed for these reasons set forth above, the court should compel plaintiff to specifically identify the entire statement by Emiru that forms the basis of their entirely wrongful claim of defamation, to articulate each element of the claim. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, the court should dismiss the First Amendment complaint as to Emiru in its entirety. Alternatively, the court should compel Mizkif to clearly and specifically articulate the claims of a more deficient statement. Now, that was her response. Let's get down to some of her evidence. We'll get to her declaration just for ish and giggles. This is basically her saying everything attached is true, right? Like attached exhibit 1 is true and correct copy of the October 25th live stream. 2 is the transcript of her live stream. Attached exhibit 3 is copies and screenshots showed in her October 25th live stream. 4, the attaches the true copy of the live stream hosted by Mizkif in response to the October 2025 video. And hey, guess what? 5th is the transcripts of Mizkif's live stream. So she's like, we got all that. Now, next thing we got to go check out is these messages. So if you're wondering what messages we're talking about, that is these right here. Now, you guys remember these. These are the messages where she said, hey, he was harassing me. We don't need to go to them. They've been shown ad nauseum pretty much on everyone who is covering this god doggone case, because Mizkif was completely unhinged. But at the same time, what do you guys think? Is Emiru going to win? And her motion to dismiss? Is her emotional truth argument regarding SA going to hold weight? Why didn't she not address the stalking claim in her response? And where is the restraining order that she was planning on respond, or that she said she was in the process of filing? You have those questions. But as far as Mizkif having a slam dunk defamation case, I just don't see it. But he would if they throw out that emotional truth. If the emotional truth wins, it's a game over for the defamation case for Mizkif. If the emotional argument is tossed aside, then Mizkif has a case. So I think his whole case against Emiru is going to bank on whether the judge accepts her live stream as her emotional truth or as a statement of fact used to destroy Mizkif. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Make sure you like, hype, share it with a friend, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.